I'm now joined by Lester Munson. He's a principal in the international division at BGR Group, focusing on government affairs. Lester, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
With this temporary reopening of the U.S. government, the U.S. government workers get paid finally after 3 weeks. What state of mind do you think these workers are under right now? Because they know that in 3 weeks' time, this may all reverse back to a shutdown.
Well, I think there's probably a range of reactions. Some folks probably appreciate a little time off, knowing that they would eventually get paid. Other folks, I think, were in some economic distress since they missed at least one, possibly two paychecks. I don't think it's very likely that we're going to see another government shutdown. This one proved to be a total failure for the White House and mostly a failure for Democrats as well. So I think it's very unlikely we'll see another one, and I hope that U.S. government employees take that to heart.
What do you think of the reopening, by and large?
Well, it's a very good thing. This government shutdown lasted way too long. It was very embarrassing for the U.S. government. Our politics should not function this way. I hope that the White House and folks in Congress have learned that this is not the way to go, that there are other ways to settle differences.
And in the past month, we see that Speaker Pelosi and President Trump's positions were pretty far apart, and neither side appears to be willing to compromise until a few days ago when President Trump finally compromised. What do you think will happen in the next 3 weeks regarding the border wall talk?
I think there's going to be discussions between the White House and Speaker Pelosi. One of the things that came out of this that may be a positive is that Speaker Pelosi's authority as the leader of the congressional Democrats is now totally solidified. It wasn't just a couple of months ago that we were talking about a threat or a challenge to her leadership in Congress. That is now a dead issue. She is clearly the leader of congressional Democrats, so she will have the authority to negotiate with President Trump. It's true that they're not likely to agree on terms for a wall or a fence or a barrier of some kind, but perhaps they can agree on other issues around that and find a way to keep the government funded.
So you're suggesting that President Trump is likely to cave in, as some commentators say, to cave in again when it comes to his $5.7 billion border wall funding?
Well, let's be clear. This is going to be a long campaign between the two sides. It's not just going to happen once. This is going to happen several times over the next year and a half or 2 years. And President Trump, what he really wants out of this is to be seen as someone who is fighting for border security. So as long as he can make it look like to his base that he is fighting for that, I think he'll be just fine. Democrats need to make it look like they are fighting against him because that's the thing that unites their base. So both sides are really kind of getting some PR value out of this, and they want to keep fighting a little bit as we go forward. The best outcome, though, would be for the U.S. And for the U.S. people, for the American people, would be if the government stays open while that happens.
Well, even some very conservative commentators on Fox News said that President Trump caved in. So
I think that's right.
In what ways do you think President Trump will, suffer in any ways?
Well, so he definitely capitulated. I don't know if I'd use the term caved in, but he capitulated to Democrat demands. He saw that he was in a tough spot and there was no real way out, and so I think he wanted to end it and move on to the next phase of this campaign, of this disagreement, of this policy issue. So I think he lost some support from his base, but most of that base still supports him, and they like him personally. They like the way that he fights. I think he's going to be okay with his base. What he may be losing is really the ability to go persuade folks in the middle that his approach is the right one.
Lester Munson, principal at BGR Group, thank you so much for your insight.